providing assistance to some of the world's most vulnerable patients. They often work in remote locations and are often the first international aid workers to arrive at the scene of an emergency. We've got a $5 donation from Gizmo's Evil Twin who says, first time donating, long time follower. First time I have money to give you guys and girls for the many hours of entertainment you have given me over the years. Love the Mega Man series. We've got a $20 anonymous donation who says, hey guys, awesome stream as always. Let's make the Ocarina of Time Glitz expedition happen. We've got a $25 donation from 0x4 who says, loving the Mega Man block so far. Way to go, Trogdor. Put this one towards the Mario Maker bonus stage. Can't wait to watch the chaos. Thank you to an anonymous $20 donator who says, my first time catching this, and I think it's amazing. I had to donate after seeing all the crazy stuff you guys pull off in the name of speed. I'm showing my friends this and would like to put my money towards the Ocarina of Time Glitz expedition. Can't wait to see what this looks like.
All right, hello. My name is Gymfreak739, and I'll be playing Mega Man ZX Advent. Behind me, I have my two commentators, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
I'm Gedrith. I'm another runner of Mega Man ZX Advent.
I'm Curry Master. I don't run this game.
We got him because he's beautiful.
All right, let's get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
So this is the first level. It's Mystery Lab. So he's playing the character Gray. There's actually two characters in this game. I'll get onto that during some downtime after this. So this whole level and Gray as a character is actually supposed to be homage to Axel from Mega Man X7. If you watch all the cutscenes, you'll kind of get that. And later on, you'll see him when he actually gets his abilities later on to copy and take forms of other people. So right now, this is kind of the tutorial level, and we're playing on beginner, so we get extra cutscenes for how to jump, how to shoot, how to crawl, which he actually is about to skip, or did. It's been a while since I played Gray. I mostly run the other character. So coming up is the first boss, and he's pretty simple, which is nice for Gray, even though his stage is a little bit longer compared to the other character. So, us as runners have different names for this boss. The most common one is Mr. Fist or Mr. Fisty McFisterson, because that's all he does is try to punch you with his giant hands. And all you have to do is shoot both of his eyes. So this is pretty straightforward and simple, and that was a very clean boss fight. So compared to Ash, Ash's is actually fought in the air, and you only have one single platform. So you have a little bit of extra RNG because he'll take away his other hand, which is that platform at that point, and try to smash into another one. And that alone costs 15 seconds. But with Gray, that actually doesn't happen, so it makes it a lot more consistent. So right now is the downtime between going and actually getting our bio medal, so we can start going fast. So a few things to bring up is there's two characters in this game, and unlike Mega Man ZX and Advent, they actually are quite different. The main difference is when they get Model A, they both have two completely different charge shots. Gray has a very powerful charge shot, but it travels pretty slow. but if it hits, it does a great deal of damage. Ash has a faster charge shot that does a little bit less damage, but can ricochet off of everywhere. And it's really good for hitting bosses that like to stay at the top of the ceilings, which is also a trouble that Gray has. They also have another shot, another ability called homing shot. Both characters are also different for that as well. Gray's shoots 2 heat-seeking shots that will come in from top and bottom, while Ash shoots an electricity bolt that just kind of goes and hits, hopefully. So right now we just got A, and we went through a bunch of cutscenes of how to use biometals, which give you the dash ability, the wall jump ability, but you lose crouching. So what you saw right there, Gymfreak brought up the homing shot attack, and then was wall jumping up the wall. When you have a homing shot attack brought up, you actually have no recoil whatsoever. So this is Buckfire. He's our very first actual boss. As you see, he likes to jump around and break everything. So unlike a lot of other Mega Man games, we can't like manipulate the boss RNG that well. So you just kind of have to deal with whatever you get. Now, after this, as you see in a cutscene scene that we'll skip, it shows A's ability, which is based off of Axel, is we can copy the boss data from anybody and turn into them. So this game, we quite literally turn into bosses and use them throughout everything. So we have to go back and unfortunately have to turn in. Every time we beat a boss, we have to go back and turn in a quest. Well, upcoming with this turn-in quest, we get a card key called the red card key, and it unlocks all the red doors in the game. So we skip that pretty quickly, thankfully. Also, all cutscenes in this game, they actually trigger before the actual cutscene starts, so you can immediately skip it and go on.
Something to know about this game is that this game is styled like a Metroidvania style kind of game, like Mega Man ZX, where you don't really have specific separated levels, but instead a large overworld that you explore.
So now we're about to enter the first red door, and we're going to go, and we have access to the next 2 bosses, Chrono Force and Rose Park. So what Gymfreak is going to do is he's going to go activate the teleporter for Chrono Force, then immediately leave and go and do Rose Park. Because in this game, coming back and falling down or doing any extra navigation can end up eating a lot of time, because there's a problem in this game called dead frames, in which the game can just drop inputs randomly, and you can end up losing time just trying to fall down, and you just sit there instead on top of the platform, or try to jump, and it eats your jump, and you just walk right off. So this is a relatively new strat for Tower, is using Buckfire and using his jump ability to just skip sections. We used to run through with Model A for either character, but this ended up being a lot faster. But the thing is, it eats a lot of the energy bar, which you see at the side. And there's an ability we use called Giga Crush, which is really strong for most bosses and takes at least a bar of health off of them. Unfortunately, doing Buckfire's jump eats up most of that, and we can't use it by this mini-boss that's coming up. So this mini-boss is actually a really good example of a difference between Model A just for Ash and Gray. Ash can actually just start shooting this boss after Giga Crush by going into the corner and just doing ricochet shots. Unfortunately, Gray can't do that at all, so you switch to Buckfire and take it out before it can get too high up. So there's not much to talk about in this next section, so we probably have time for one donation.
Alrighty, we've got an anonymous $15 donation. Longtime viewer, first-time donator. Felt bad that it took so long to finally donate, but ZX Advent is one of my favorite DS games, so now felt like a good time to donate.
Good, you should think about picking it up. This game needs more runners. So there's about 5 of us active. We all take breaks every now and then. And but before I get on to that, so what you saw there is Gymfreak buffered Giga Crush into this cutscene, and if you release it during the cutscene, on the first frame possible that you can start doing inputs, it releases your input, which is really helpful for these bosses. And so what you're seeing right now during the fight, he was doing a homing shot into his charge shot. Homing shots actually don't trigger iframes in this game, so you can rack up a lot of extra damage by getting the homing shot in and immediately doing the charge shot. So that was Rose Park. While Gymfreak made that look really simple and he got great RNG, he can actually be really mean because he has several attacks that make him completely invulnerable to damage, and you just have to weigh them out. So the reason why we run beginner mode is what you're about to see right here. We don't die from spikes or pits. We just take 4 damage. So we get to skip a lot of things in this game that would normally we'd have to take a slower route. So back there, you're actually supposed to switch the Rose Park and then jump on the ropes and go over, and it's boring. So we just play on beginner and skip all of that. So now we're going to go and deal with Chrono Force. Chrono Force is the first ice section for this game, which includes everybody's favorite thing, ice physics. So there's 2 strats for this area. One is what Gymfreak is currently doing now, is using Model A to go through and then switch to the Buckfire. Buckfire has no penalty whatsoever but for moving in water, so he's great to use for levels like these. So with ice physics, as everybody knows, you don't stop right away on them. You move a little bit as you're trying to slow down. Well, unfortunately, with dead frames, if you get too close to an edge, you're just going to fall off. And so while learning this level or playing casually, you can end up messing up a lot of the jumps and strats because you're just not used to how it works.
I've had many, many runs that I've just died because I meant to dash off an ice block and jump, and instead I just kind of jumped off and jumped right into the water.
So that was actually a mini boss for this game. It's pretty simple. It's kind of a homage to one of the ZX underwater bosses. He just comes from like a different direction. So unfortunately, there you saw a little bit of one of Buckfire's extra abilities. Every boss ability actually has multiple directions on the D-pad for inputs that actually changes how they come out. So if you just do a basic one, he just kind of throws swords and it sucks. Also, there's another great example of pixels just stopping all your movement. So in this room, we have to blow up generators to unlock all the doors later on. That's pretty much the gist of this level. So if you have more donations to read, go right ahead.
Absolutely. I've got a $75 donation from Baked Potato who says, so excited to see a Mega Man ZX Advent run. One of my favorite games of all time. Good luck to the runner and thanks for the great stream and good cause. I've also got a $10 donation from Evan M who says, I played ZX Advent as a kid, but I lost my copy and I don't remember much about the game. It's nice to reunite with it here at SGDQ. Best of luck to Jim on the run.
If you got one more, you can still squeeze it in.
Alrighty, I've got a $20 donation from Pickle Juice who says, Mario Maker bonus stage hype. Shoutouts to Jimmy Jazz and my 89 runs.
Okay, so coming up is Chrono Force. So Chrono Force has this neat/awful ability of he doesn't take damage from the top half of his body, so you have to actually aim at your shots pretty precisely. And Gray has this fun little thing with his homing shot that allows him to do a quick kill on this boss that Ash cannot do whatsoever. So like I brought up earlier, you use the homing attack. It doesn't trigger iframe, so he can get some extra shots in. So now he's going to wait and have Chrono Force start another weapon cycle, because if he actually did just enough damage to drop into yellow health, Chrono Force will go behind the stage and waste around 15 to 20 seconds doing shooting icicles out at you. This way you skip that and you kill him in 3 cycles, which is really nice. And yes, we're about to get his data and we turn into a giant fish robot thing. We actually use him a few times in the run. Some runners, it's kind of up to a personal basis. He's really safe. That's the best way of putting it. And it's not because the whole hitbox thing. You can actually freeze time with him, so you can get a lot of hits in on bosses pretty easily, including the final boss.
Spoilers.
So right up here is the first room of 2 that we actually have to go through and trigger keys. And so every key for these doors triggers to a certain element. So here's the first showing of Chrono Force. Prepare to probably not see him again. And so you have to this is the game's way of kind of hardwalling you, though. You have to go get these bosses just to advance the story anymore. So coming up is Oil Field. Unfortunately, Oil Field's pretty boring. it's just run and shoot. So more donations.
Alrighty, I've got an anonymous $10 donation. Watched every stream since SGDQ 2015 and seen most of the VODs for everything I've missed. Love everything you do. Don't ever stop doing it. Side note, let's see that OOT glitch exhibition. Also got another $50 donation. Recommended to watch by a friend. Love the show. Good luck to the players.
So coming up is where most runners take some intentional damage and they jump into this pit. Of course, Gymfreak, being the beast he is at this game, is just going to actually use Rose Park and just go over everything. It's not that much faster, and you have to hope that the enemies don't cycle up on you. So once again, Gymfreak's buffered a Giga Crush on this mini-boss. If you've ever played ZX, he's pretty familiar to you, except working a lot differently. So there's two strats for this mini-boss. There's either for after Giga Crush going in the bug fire as we saw, which you only really do if you see the snake actually go down into the sand. If he raises or stays where he is, you actually go underneath him, switch to Rose Park, and just shoot bullets straight up into his head. So in here, we actually have to go and collect a bunch of survivors just so we can progress to the next boss. So here's the first one. There's another one we can go do, and then we have to go and turn on the generators with Rose Park before we can get the last one that actually triggers the door opening. So for the generators, there's a neat little trick you can do with Rose Park. If you jump up in the air when you do one of his vine attacks, you can actually quickly change directions and duplicate his hitbox on both sides of him. So you can trigger two of the ground generators at the same time. It's also really hard to do, and only a few of us can get it consistently. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it this time. But it doesn't waste too much time, honestly. It saves like 2 seconds. So now we have to go back, get this guy, and now we can go and fight Atlas. So Atlas actually is the new owner, if you played ZX before, of the Biometal F, which is fire, I think?
Yeah.
I forgot, there's actually another like whole name to it. I forgot it at the moment. So there's multiple RNG strings you can actually do here with Atlas. So Gymfreak drops to the side, which triggers Atlas to do this really slow fire shot. There's also another one that you can kind of get, which is right there, but you can get him to do it in the her to do it in the corner. And that was a pretty decent fight. It can go a lot faster. But all of us runners actually have a different setup for that fight. Like when I come in, I actually don't move and immediately do my Giga Crush, and Atlas just comes underneath me and starts shooting, and then goes into one of her special attacks. So, and then another runner, Zolas, shoutouts to Zolas by the way, he actually drops a little bit underneath the platform where you start, and then triggers that, which gets a different attack. So it shows how like the RNG is kind of weird in this game. Also, another thing to note is with all the biometals in this game, their power moves are actually different between both characters in this game. As you saw with Atlas, she did a flame wall. The Ash's Atlas actually shoots out mines instead, which we'll see different variations in that later on. It also actually makes Gray faster because some of the mechanics behind his biometals work a lot better with some of the skips we've made up. Which is sad for me because I actually run Ash most of the time and I don't get the fun skips.
Yeah, play a better character.
Dang, the call-outs. I've always said if somehow we can give Gray Ash's ricochet shot, he's the perfect character. So coming up is Skyscraper, and it might look familiar to you. It's because it's the destroyed city from ZX. We're going story-wise. We're going there to meet the this Elder Council to discuss why all the robots are trying to kill the rest of the humans and what to do. Honestly, it doesn't really matter that much, and we don't care. But there's a really fun boss fight coming up, which is Model P from ZX, now known as Shinnok. And he has a fun little thing of he teleports everywhere. Thankfully, though, the big difference between Ash and Gray for this fight is in Ash, Shinnok actually makes a blade shield around him, which eats Giga Crush shots, which you get in like half of it, which really sucks. But with Gray, he doesn't have that ability. He just throws a shuriken in front of him, so he eats all of the Giga Crush, which makes the fight a lot more consistent and faster for this character.
Oh, that was amazing RNG.
That was great. It's probably one of the best patterns you can get out of him. So coming up, we have a tutorial on how to use Shinnok. It's pretty much exactly like PX, but he actually gets a little bit buff. Oh, he missed the jump. There's a few pixels there that you can actually reach the corner of that.
Oh my god.
You can actually reach the corner of that wall and just jump up like that.
I've never missed that twice in a row before. If you want to add that to the that never happened before counter we have.
So coming up is the mini boss for Skyscraper, which is actually after the boss, which is kind of a different change of pace for most Mega Man games. Also, you might recognize this one as well. Thankfully, he dies instantly from Shuriken, which doesn't happen with Ash, of course. So there's really nothing to talk about right now. So another donation.
Alrighty, we've got a $25 donation from Rink who says, cheers from Argentina. Let's see if this year we can kill those animals.
Also, I didn't know that you could actually do this with PX until Gymfreak showed me that you can actually drop below the board and just keep riding on it. I used to actually just fall off and keep kind of going with this level. Also, for people that didn't know, you can skip that platform that you're supposed to ride down here. You just don't have to care about it. So coming up, we're about to meet the Council. You'll see him for like 2 seconds before we skip the cutscene. So one of the 3 people is the final boss. Guess which one it is. Hint, he's not there anymore. So after talking to the Council, it unlocks 4 other stages that we have to go and do before we can trigger going to a underground passage later on, which will be our second kind of key check. So the first one we'll do is Aeolus, which is Model H. As everybody knows that's seen in a ZX speedrun or watched SGDQ last year when ZX happened, that version of the game, you kind of just use Model H for everything. He kind of kills everything. They completely nerfed him in this game. He's still pretty good, but he's not as good anymore. But we have something that's even more broken in this game that we'll show later on after these 4 levels.
On the other hand, Model PX is a lot more buffed from ZX.
Yes, he's a lot better.
Which is a ninja-like biometal if you don't have that memorized.
So the neat little thing about this level is there's actually a wind breeze currently, like persistently, and there's these tornadoes that pop up. So you can do neat little momentum tricks using these. As you'll see right here, he'll actually skip a platform. And then later on, he'll skip a good chunk of this next area by boosting through a tornado as it's rising. So he gets a lot of vertical speed and a lot of horizontal speed at the same time. So here's a good example of the wind blowing that just utterly slows you down in this area. Also, these platforms are actually really hard to gauge when to jump on. So here's the tornado jump, and that's pretty solid. You can sometimes get a little bit more air on it and actually land all the way on that platform he just came on. But you just have to make do sometimes. So coming up is the Aeolus fight. So Aeolus' tornadoes that he throws out in this game actually can eat shots fired at him. But luckily, with Gray's Aeolus, his tornadoes are actually really small. If you play Ash, his tornadoes are huge and they actually persist on both sides of him. But thankfully, you don't have to deal with that with Gray.
That was solid.
Yes, that was a great fight. So as you've probably noticed already, the boss fights are really quick in this game. That's because they didn't give a lot of bosses a lot of health, and we also have really high damage output in this game. If you play casually, you'll even clear a lot of these bosses pretty quickly. So coming up now is a lot of people that played this game's favorite level, and it's called Highway. It has one of the best soundtracks in this game, in my opinion. And it also features the boss of Model L, I believe.
Yeah.
And his name in this game is Thetis.
He has some pretty awesome voice acting.
It's great. And you're going to hear a lot of it. He also has very good movement tech, though. So that's pretty much why you're going to start wanting to mute your mics, your headsets and your speakers. So this zone actually has one of the few rarities, and actually has 2 boss fights and mini bosses in it. If you played ZX, you'll recognize this as one of the bosses. Unfortunately, we have to deal with him 3 times, and he gives specific RNG, which this is really good. You want him to move to the right, so then Gray spends less time actually running on auto-scroller. So let's see if we can get it again, and nope, the dream is not real, unfortunately. Still, pretty good, pretty solid mini-boss. So, as you see there, if you hit a cutscene and you're not in Model A, you actually revert out of it into Model A. Normal transformations take around 1 to 2 seconds, depending on the transformation. When you're in the cutscene, it adds an extra half a second to a second for the transformation because the cutscene response needs Model A there to trigger. So most of the time you'll see before going to the cutscene, we'll transform back into Model A to save a little bit of time. So coming up is the second mini-boss, which Gymfreak is about to show off a very new strat that I didn't even know until he showed me earlier today. And it's literally just sitting here taking damage and staying in the hitbox. So those 4 wheels on the outside actually are completely invulnerable to damage. They don't take anything. You can't destroy them. So the normal strat is you switch the Chrono Force there, you freeze time, then you go to Atlas and you just spam and kill it before it can even move. I think using the PX strat saves a few extra seconds. It saves a transformation cycle, pretty much. So here's Thetis. So a neat little thing about Thetis is when you Giga Crush, you can hit him anywhere in this area. So when he leaves the screen, you can still shootable with that. So unfortunately, Thetis' ability for Gray is pretty bad. He just makes this Ice Snake, and here's the movement tech I was talking about. Ashes is he makes a giant ice shield at first, so he can take a few hits, but then he breaks it. Well, during that, he has such kind of animation delay. You can sit behind him and just keep doing charge shots forever and kill him pretty quickly. So next up, we're going to Gymfreak's favorite level, Scrapyard. So Scrapyard was just recently optimized to use Model H for a good chunk of it now, including the boss fight, actually. So if done correctly, this is going to be a very beautiful level. Another thing is the trash wheel on the floor is actually trying to slowly eat you, so that's why you keep seeing him jumping while he's going through it. So we have to use PX here just to lower the platform so we can open up doors. It's on a global timer, actually, so other doors like that one will still be lowering when you show in. Those platforms are also, you're able to stand up on them, which you'll see being used just very soon. So right here is a bunch of doors. If you pick the wrong one, you actually have to go back and redo the whole level. The correct door for the first one is the one that has the green light on top of it. The next area will be the pink one. It's pretty much, if it's a blue, it has a blue light on top of it, you don't take it. Oh. So that's one of the new optimizations. And then there we see using it as a platform. So normally, we used to switch to Aeolus right about here because it made going through this next area a lot quicker. So there's a bunch of blocks that start moving around after you hit a switch. Well, this is the first one supposed to show in it. We just fly up and don't care.
I'm going to use some audio cues here for these next 2 tricks, so you can ask for everyone to be just a little quiet. There's one. And there's two. Awesome.
Nice.
So that was really well done, yeah. So Gymfreak made that look really easy, but it's actually, the first block is extremely tight, and you could, even though this is beginner, you still instantly die from crushing damage. The second one, if you don't move quick enough from it, you really have a big risk of getting crushed by it as well, because it's really misleading on how fast that block actually moves. So coming up is Voltron. Voltron is a interesting character. He doesn't really get used in speedrun, unfortunately. But we'll see him going for a quick kill. So he switches to Aeolus, and now he's just trying to time optimally when the iframes leave and him getting a saber hit in. That was really good. So that's the quick kill. So a nice little change that they added in this game is saber combos actually don't trigger iframes until the very last saber hit goes in. So it's really helpful for quick kills like this. We don't use it too much though. So a little story piece, what we're actually doing is trying to get these pieces called of Model W, which is actually the soul of Wily, like reincarnated into a piece into a biometal. Unfortunately, every time we get to one, we don't get it. So it's a little bit of spoilers there, but you don't really see the cutscenes.
I forgot where I was for a second.
So now we're going to the last of the 4 areas, which is called Control Tower. Control Tower, but it doesn't have a lot going for it besides the active fire kind of going everywhere and dropping. But what we as runners kind of at first hated, and now we've made a little neat strat that none of us like except for Gymfreak, is using Aeolus to climb this elevator. The normal thing you do is just get Rose Park and you go straight up one of the ropes. Gymfreak's is insane though, so he's going to do this, which is, if you do this optimally, it saves, I think, what, 5 seconds?
Oh yeah, around there. I am definitely not doing this optimally though.
Yeah, this is extremely difficult. I don't even think this is in the task, actually. Then again, we have a lot of strats that haven't been put into the task yet.
Looks freaking swag, though.
Yeah. Not a lot of us do that. I don't know if Iki Soda does, but I think, are you the only one that does it?
I'm sure Elpis does it.
Right.
Elpis is the world record holder for this game.
Yes.
And he has a time that is about 2 minutes ahead of everyone else, and he's a god at this game.
Yeah, Elphys has both world records for Gray and Ash. His Ash world record, I think, beats second place by like 6 minutes or something. Also, this mini boss, you just break the first one center underneath them and shoot up. A lot of these bosses, like, you don't think of little simple things. Like, you would think that hitbox would still be there. So what you saw there was, with Atlas, you can actually manipulate the trajectory of one of his guns. So this will be used later on in the boss fight coming up. So this room has some of the weirdest wall jumping that we use with Buckfire. This might look easy. It's not. It's extremely difficult to get the timing down.
For some reason, the timing is extremely tight with holding the correct buttons and pressing B to jump.
And that was very well done. That very top section is very hard to do. And a lot of us just mess it up all the time. So here, if you were playing this game on normal, that room would be your nightmare. So many spikes, so easy to die, and it resets you all the way back at the beginning of the room. Okay, so here's Queen Bree. She looks as fun. It's great fight. It's great. So we Giga Crush, which actually damages her, but now we can't hit her hitbox anymore, so we damage her larvae, which blows up doing damage to her, and now we have to kill her before she leaves, which he got, so that's very good.
I think that's the fastest fight I've ever done for that boss.
So what happens if you don't kill her fast enough? She actually leaves, spawns another bottom half of her body, and you have to do that all over again. Now, thankfully, with A, as you saw earlier with Giga Crush, it can hit her even out of that, which you'll see being used in the potentially be using in the refights later on. So now, with all 4 of these areas done, we unlock another area that we're about to head over to. So there's not much to talk about going to it. So if you have a donation or two to read off.
Sure, we've got a $20 donation from Ace Gamer Sam, who says, Mega Man, Super Mario Maker, and Ocarina of Time? What a Friday night at SGDQ. Keep it up, everyone. We've also got an anonymous $10 donation. Fight the good fight. Thanks for hosting this for the benefit of Doctors Without Borders.
So coming up is the second key, the key check. Oh, that's nice. So to get this, we're about to go into an underground passageway, which will be another use of PX, because he has this neat little extended night vision. But also, what Game Freak does is he watches the bottom of the screen the whole time, which I don't think anybody else does. But now, as I've realized, is extremely helpful. So as you see, you don't have a lot of vision in this room, but on the bottom map, you can see all the enemy spawns. But you can't see when your weapons go out, so it's a little. You have to kind of trust that you're gonna hit them. And then, but you can even see the platforms coming up, which is really nice instead of taking blind jumps here. So coming up is the actual fight for this area, and it's a very familiar face returning. That is right, we are fighting ZX from the original game. So, as always, we buffer a Giga Crush, and ZX likes hugging walls for some reason. That fight could go a lot better. Optimally, you only want one wall climb, and after that, you want to try to stay on the ground when you're using Aeolus. But now we have ZX to use. So ZX actually got really broken in this game. They buffed the damage of his Z-Saber. Her Z-Saber. And it's quite broken. As you'll see, from now on for the rest of the run, if we can, the boss fights can be fought with ZX.
If you thought the current boss fights were fast enough, you haven't seen ZX yet.
Prepare for like 10 to 15 second boss fights.
That's too long.
Yeah. Actually, some of them were like 5 seconds.
That's way longer than most of the bosses.
So another revisit from a mini boss from the prior game, except this one isn't kind of a mini boss. He's just kind of there, and there's a great showing of Z-Saber. It just kind of messes up a lot of bosses. So what he actually does in this is he keeps moving forward and destroys a lot of these blocks. Well, thankfully, if you destroy them quick enough, you can just switch to Atlas and destroy them. Well, the thing is, right at the very end, there's 2 blocks right before a giant spike patch. If he destroys those, it makes that spike path pretty much impossible to jump without the use of Aeolus. And so, of course, if you're on normal or expert, you would die instantly. And if you die here, you actually are reset to the previous room and have to redo all of that again.
Speaking of difficulties, so how do the boss HP and damage values differ between the 3 difficulties?
Their HP is increased. Their HP and damage are both increased, and I believe they get a few new RNG moves as well. So, familiar boss from earlier, Atlas kind of doesn't care. There's me, boss! So now we're about to go turn in this mission, which actually grants us a new key card, the green card. So now we can go through all the green doors and we also unlock 3 new areas to go into. We have some downtime while he is navigating this, so if you have a donation or two to read.
Sure, I'd just like to mention that after this run, we have a Super Mario Maker blind relay race. We do have a donation incentive for that for a bonus level to be added to the end of that. It's a $15,000 total. We're at about $9,300 for that. So if you do want to see that extra level added, be sure to get your donations in for that.
Okay, so coming up is right at the beginning of this level is the boss fight for it, which is Argle. It's actually 2 bosses at once. They mimic each other's moves. So there's a quick kill on this boss, and let's see if Gymfreak will get it. And he made it look easy.
Model GX is super broken, as you can tell.
So what he did there is he took a hit so he could actually have iframes and be in the middle of both of them while doing the Z-Saber, because both of them actually have this, the equivalent amount of a boss put together. So they actually have 4 hit bars. Thankfully with that, you killed him in 5 seconds.
Should really have a timer for these.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So now we'll do the rest of Waterfall Ruins, which is actually the first kind of big maze for this game. There's multiple branches and several of them are quite slow. But thankfully we found a faster one. But unfortunately it takes some damage boosting to get through, and we have the potential of dying in the room. Hopefully we'll get some health drops. But later on, as you get into this game, it gets very notorious for never giving you health drops, except for right there, as I say that. Thank you, game. At least to me, it never drops health.
Could you explain what these lasers are doing as he passes through them?
So anytime you're in the laser, it retracts some of the spike walls. And we skip through some of those there, which is why we need the damage boosting. So he uses Aeolus to skip over those. A few of us actually just kind of wait it out and then kill him if we're desperate for health. So coming up is RNG the boss, or like I like to call Tree Boss or Arbor. So he has 3 attack patterns. He either opens his mouth and starts shooting, which is the best. He uses roots to try to entangle you and then opens his mouth and tries to shoot at you, which is the second best, or we get leaves. We got the second best so far. Nice. Yeah, clap.
Clap for RNG, yeah.
So if he got leaves, it wastes like 15 to 20 seconds because they take forever to get off the screen. And Tree Boss will not do anything until those leaves are off the screen. And it's possible for him to string another leaf attack in right after that. So you can lose a run just because he wants to put leaves on the ground. That's the best way of putting it. Politely. So now we're going to be going back and actually finishing the tutorial stage of Mystery Lab and going to my favorite and the most adorable boss in this game, Hedgehog. Also, this whole area is very notorious for never dropping health, but having so much stuff to kill you, pretty much. I've had one run that I've gotten a small health drop before going to the boss. And then I ended up losing that run later on to something else, but that's the only time I got health, and I'm very mad about it.
Could you explain what he's doing with the single wall jumping there? He's been doing with different armors.
Yeah. So as I brought up a little bit earlier in the run, actually like right at the beginning, when he holds a homing shot, and does a wall jump, it actually completely negates most of the recoil back off the wall. So it allows you to get up a wall very quickly. The normal wall jump, you come off quite a bit and then can move back in. Also, if you can punch all the batteries with Atlas, making this a lot quicker. If I didn't even know that until watching this. But anyways, going back to the wall jumping, a lot of characters have things to minimize your knockback from doing wall jumping. So here comes Hedgehog. So Hedgehog can be very, very unforgiving and stay on the ground the whole time, which makes Z-sabering really hard. Or he can be a bro and decide to go up top. He is being very mean. But he got a clean hit on it. So the problem why Z-sabering's hard is if it's on one of the sides, you can accidentally jump on top of one of those platforms and cut your Z-saber a lot shorter. And thankfully, he landed right in, a little bit to the side of the middle, so Gymfreak could get a perfect Z-saber off.
Confirmed Mega Man beats Sonic in Smash 4.
So prepare to see the one of 2 times we use Hedgehog. So we actually have to transform back because there's about to be another cutscene to say that we got these two like secret datas from the last two areas. So next up will be Secret Lab. Secret Lab is one of the most technical levels in this whole run. If done correctly, it is one of the most beautiful levels in this game. But there's so much stuff in the way. The second area is one of the longest areas in this whole game. It's kind of hard to get it like all synced up and for a perfect approach to it. But hopefully Gymfreak can do it. No pressure.
Thanks.
All the pressure.
So the first room's pretty typical Mega Man style. You have a few enemies dropping down your head. You have a few just kind of sitting there in your path. And you have some water, of course, which as A, you never want to fall in because you move at like a quarter of your speed. But so far, this is going really well. He only took one hit so far. And the ending for the first area is coming up. That was very clean. So coming up is the second section. This is where we actually use a lot of forms in. This and all of Secret Lab in total, we use five of the transformations. So we have to use Queen Bree to move these these pretty much blockers out of the way, and then here we actually drain part of the water. So that's the last time we'll use Queen Bree. So now we switch to Thetis. Thetis moves faster under the water and has great wall climbing movement tech. So the slime that you see getting thrown around here actually slows you if it hits you. So we're going to try to avoid getting hit, but unfortunately one did. So up here is the last time you'll see Head Shock. So I hope you enjoyed his adorableness for the brief span of the run. So now we're approaching the end, which we'll be fighting the biggest boss in the game, Bifrost. We have a quick kill with him as well, using Z-Saber by taking a hit and then being inside of him as we do the Z-Saber. And his hitbox is so large, we can hit both one side of his body and the weak spot at the same time. And that was very well done.
This is easily going to be the most mobile transformation in the game.
Yes.
Right?
So this will be the one time we see Bifrost, and then thankfully we never have to use this awful transformation ever again.
He's so good at for speedrunning, though.
He's a great boss. I don't know what they were thinking with the transformation. So this is all he's useful for. There we go. That's it. So we'll never see Bifrost again for the rest of this run. So we have to actually go and turn in the quest for this just to trigger going to the next area. Like, we actually have all we're supposed to need story-wise to go and use this teleport in this next room, but they decided to add an extra lock on it until you go and turn in the Bifrost mission. So now starts Undersea Volcano. Undersea Volcano is an RNG mess to begin with because it randomly drops pretty much flaming boulders on your head. A safe strat to do in this first section is actually use Chrono Force since he's invincible from the top part of his hitbox and just swim through. It's the most annoying thing to ever hear, but it's safe. Gymfreak, of course, is fast and insane, so he's going with Thetis. So those pits that he's jumping over, they actually have a hitbox that's above them as well that do damage to you. So they're quite annoying to jump over and get the right amount of height for. But so far that was a really, really good first area. So the second area is where the flaming boulders is going to come in. So they randomly just drop throughout this area. Thankfully, you can break them with Thetis' weapon if you see them early enough, but sometimes you just can't. So here we're going to drop through and hopefully not have to trigger Thetis' swimming ability because it's extremely slow compared to him just falling in water. Also, we're kind of hoping for some health because the next room, Gymfreak, once again, is insane. And he's going to take the right route here. The right route is, while it's faster, extremely deadly. There's a bunch of spikes. Every time we get hit by a spike, we take 4 damage. So we're going to try to damage boost through some of the enemies in this area and then run on spikes to avoid taking the damage. He also has to time all of this properly because there's spikes even on the ground as he's falling down, so he doesn't hit any of these as well. So there's one of the damage boosts, and there's the second.
Nice.
And he's through. So that's the whole side. The left side is a lot safer, but it takes like an extra 15 seconds to go through. So if you played ZX, you remember Promethean and Pandora. This is literally a copy-paste of that fight from that game. Except we have Z-Saber, so we don't care. And that's it.
I think that was longer than 5 seconds.
Yes. So as a general rule with ZX, if there's 2 bosses on the screen, they have double the hit points. Because while Promethean and Pandora actually share hit points, Ogle don't. They both have their own set of hit points, but the bar is shared. So now we're on Ouroboros, which is actually a complete reconstruction of Wily's Model W. This has some of the hardest movement in the game, as well as everything in the level is deadly to you. So coming up after this room is actually the boss refights. There isn't too much to talk about, except for one boss coming up that I'm kind of proud of, that me and Zolas figured out a really clean strat for it, and a lot of people didn't realize because they never watch Ash speedruns. So coming up is the first boss that Gymfreak's going to do is Chrono Force. So as you saw early last time, Chrono Force took a while and you can't hit him from the top half. Well, with Thetis, if you're in swimming mode and you do a sword attack, if you keep spamming it, he just spins his sword forever. So you can just sit underneath Chrono Force and spin your sword forever and kill him very quickly. So unfortunately, we'll have to wait for him to come back. Chrono Force. Also not Z-Saber strats. Awesome. But for the rest of the refights, they're pretty much the exact same thing as we've been seeing so far. We use ZX, we use Z-Saber, they die in around 10 seconds. So if you have donations to read, just keep going until I have something to say.
Absolutely. We've got a $10 donation from Bad Scribbler who says, I'll donate for more Mario Maker. We've got another $10 donation from B Sharp Major General. Finally cashed my paycheck. Hyped to see Child of Light and Super Mario RPG later on. Here's to saving the animals and calling the short plumber Red Luigi. Cheers, all. We've got a $50 donation from Genrai who says, love the Mega Man X block and had to get a donation in for the extra Mario Maker level. We can do it, guys. Keep up the great work, runners and staff. Y'all are killing it. We got a $50 anonymous donation who said, couldn't make it up to Minnesota this year. Anyone who is a fan should try and catch a GDQ in person. Here's to more Mario Maker and more OOT. We've got a $20 donation from Stapler32 who says, this event is pretty darn radical. We've got an $150 donation from Mr. Finch89 who says, I do my best to watch SGDQ marathons when I can. Unfortunately, I have to deal with the biggest run killer ever, a full-time job. I still love watching when I can. Keep the run rolling. And finally, I've got a $50 anonymous donation who says, more Mario Maker? Yes, please.
So Buckfire really doesn't like breaking the glass in this boss refight, so we just kind of go at him. If you actually wait, like where you start long enough, he'll just eventually just drop kick through it. So while there's not a lot to talk about, you'll see it kind of throughout the rest of this. All their RNGs actually changed for the refights. Fortunately, you don't see it long enough to matter because we killed him so quickly.
If you have any more donations, please read them now. We're literally just doing the same thing we did with the bossy before.
Sure thing. I've got a $10 donation from Double Negative who says, bonus Mario Maker stuff? We got to get on that, guys. We'll take a look here to see how that bid is coming along for that extra bonus Mario Maker level. It looks like we're at $9,600 out of $15,000, so still some work to do here. If you guys want to see that extra level, get your donations in now.
So coming up is Ogle again, so let's see if he can get another quick kill. Got it.
Nice. I've seen a lot of runners miss that. It's harder than it looks.
Yeah, your Z-frames literally end right as they're about to touch the ground. So if you don't get enough damage in or start your Z-Saber just a little bit too late, you get knocked out of it and they'll get away. We have another time for one more donation.
All right, I've got a $30 donation from Hero Mystic who says, payday hype. Going to be busy all day today, but it's still important to donate to such a great cause. Remember, every bit counts.
So there goes our adorable yellow little ball of spikes. So coming up for the last of the refights is Queen Bree. So we actually don't have to do any refights for any of the Biometal characters, thankfully. So with Queen Bree, unfortunately, there's always the threat of her leaving after starting the second cycle. So if that potentially happens, all we're going to do is switch back to Male, which we have to do anyways for a cutscene trigger, and Giga Crush, because Giga Crush hits her through this phase. Nice, so we don't have to deal with that. So the timer for her to decide to leave is actually completely random. It can be like as soon as she recovers from her animation of getting the bottom half of her blown up. It can be like 30 seconds. So coming up is the last room before the final boss. Ouroboros 3 is the most deadly room in this whole game. If you've played this game casually, you know like how bad this room is and probably have a hate for it. You'll see coming up. So far there's these slime boxes that you can shoot and break to get through. They get spikes after a point. On normal difficulty, those kill you. Everything in this room kills you and resets you back to the beginning of this area. And then you have this monstrosity.
Classic Mega Man.
So a safe strat to do in the speedrun is actually take Voltron, and Voltron can hover. So you just drop low enough that you hover and you just go through and break all the blocks with this guitar. So here's the first phase of the final boss. He is a great final boss.
It's the hardest final boss I've fought in any game ever.
So the old strat used to be using Chrono Force here. Now we just use PX and just sit right there at his base.
I wonder if I can do it. Can I do it? Do you guys believe in me?
No.
Oh, boss
my God.
dead.
I did it. Okay.
Okay, so coming up is the true final boss, Albert. He is in Model W form, so he is technically Wily at some point. He is so hard.
I don't know if I can beat him, guys.
Do you need serious time for this?
I definitely need serious time for this. This is the hardest final boss in any game ever.
Boss is dead.
All right, get ready on time, guys. And time. That's my third PB in 1 week. So yeah, we use in-game time for this game instead of real time. So, if I may ask the host, did we meet the donation incentive for the Ash intro cutscene or not?
Looks like we unfortunately did not meet that.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Oh well. Well, thank you for having me. Any shout-outs before we head off?
Shout outs to Zolis, Iki Soda, and the rest of the ZX Advent community. If it wasn't for them, this run wouldn't be as far as it is. And shout outs to Game Freak for having a great run.
All right.
All right. Thank you once again, Gymfreak, for that run of Mega Man X ZX Advent. I've got a $1,000 donation anonymously. I did not know GDQ existed until I saw my husband watching it this past weekend. What a great way to raise money for a good cause. Thanks to everyone who is running or organizing. We're both looking forward to the Super Mario Maker run, so let's get that extra level. I've also got a $30 donation from Elizabeth M., who says, so excited for Mario Maker. I hope we reach the donation incentive and get to have more of it. All right, we are going to take a quick commercial break, so we'll be right back. Welcome back to Summer Games Done Quick 2016, sponsored by Twitch. Do want to give one quick update. That extra Mario Maker level is currently at $11,600 out of $15,000. So we're almost there, guys. Get your donations in now. We're going to throw it over to an interview with Tonic, The Boy Chaos, and Scent.
Dang it. That's not my name.
Dang. Hey, I'm Tonic, and we're here in day 6 of Summer Games Done Quick 2016. I'm joined by Scent and the Boys. How you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well.
Doing all right.
Cool. So, boys, tell us, how is your SGDQ 2016 experience going so far?
So I actually flew in red-eye flight last night.
Ooh.
So I've been here, I don't know, what, 10, 20 hours, something like that. Very, very few amount of time, but it's been very good. I've been watching a bit at home while I've been waiting to get over here, and I'm super excited about the event.
Cool, yeah. So tell us, what is it like to be the only soft drink-themed video game in our marathon?
It's a little weird that we have a monopoly on soft drinks in my run. And hopefully later on we'll be able to get Cool Spot and Coca-Cola Kid and a bunch of the other really, really popular soft drink games that everybody played as a kid into the next, Games Done Quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Boys is going to be running Pepsi Man for us after Mario Maker. So tell us how you got into this game. It's a pretty unique game.
So Pepsi Man is interesting because I was actually watching Adam AK's stream a couple years ago, and he was talking about Pepsi Man and how cool it would be to get a run of that, even to like a GDQ or just to show some speedruns of the game. So I'm like, I could probably pick that up.
Yeah.
So I started playing it and racing with a couple friends on SRL. We actually only raced half of the game because we thought the game was too difficult to race consistently, and now that's obviously kind of a joke.
Yeah.
But we just started racing it halfway through the game, and I fell in love with the thing. It's a very wonky title, very awkward controls,
Yeah.
and not exactly the best game, but I really
Special.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like my baby, so yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about what we'll see out of the game?
Sure. So it's interesting because the game itself is sort of an auto-scroller.
Yeah.
In some sense, because you're constantly running towards the end of the screen. But there's a lot of interesting tech involved with how you're spacing yourself on the screen. So we're going to see a lot of me sort of speeding up and slowing down to try and get objects to spawn near the end of the screen in a way that I can move quickly through the patterns.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to kick it over to Sent, who's going to talk about prizes for a minute.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me here, Tonic. I'm glad you brought up a cool spot in Coca-Cola Kid Boys, because I was actually going to ask you, do you have any plans to expand into other soda-themed video games?
So I posted a picture on my Twitter, actually, of Coca-Cola Kid with the Pepsi Man Hail Coca-Cola like joke image. And that went over pretty well. So I think Coca-Cola Kid might be something I'm going to do. Obviously, all those games are way different genre than Pepsi Man, though.
Right. I look forward to it in the future.
Yeah.
So I just have a couple of things to show off. First, this... let's slide it into frame here. This was actually a prize earlier during our classic Mario block, but it's just so cool. I've had a couple of requests to get it on camera. Huge shout outs to Jody Hoover, who donated 2 of these, peach themed and a daisy themed one. And
They look great.
It's a little hard to tell, but this is actually oil on canvas, I believe.
Yeah.
It's not a print. This is hand painted. It's
It looks
beautiful.
great.
Oh, yeah.
Set that down real gently over there. We do have a lot of really cool stuff on site, but I actually want to take a minute and talk about something that's really exceptional that we unfortunately weren't able to get on site for this event. So a good friend of the stream, Crane, was really, really inspired by the Mario Maker race at SGDQ. In fact, so much so that at the time there was a shirt design that I believe the Eddie was putting out, and he got in touch with the artist and he was like, "I'd actually like to build a 2-foot-tall sculpture of this design." It happened. It's amazing. It is a 2-foot or so tall Mario sculpture made out of like coins and question blocks and piranha plants. It looks amazing. If you want to see some pictures of it, head over to gamesdonequick.com and you can check out our tracker where we have pictures of all our prizes as well as when you can donate to win them, the donation incentives you can donate towards upcoming runs, and really all the information on the marathon you could ever want.
Cool, that's great.
Awesome.
So we're going to kick it back over to them. I'm Tonic. This is my last interview, and it's been an honor to work with these great people. So up next, we'll have Mario Maker, and then right afterwards, we're going to have Pepsi Man with Boix, and stay tuned. So we'll kick it back over to Tech.
All right, thank you very much, Sent. We've got a $30 donation from Smallwise Fox. It says, second year donating, third year watching. Love supporting a great cause like MSF and watching GDQ kill those animals.